Hiya. Oh, it's a while since we've done one here in this room. Late night radio. Today's guest, this is a supremely talented man. What is he? Well, he's certainly a musician. If you cut him in half, you'd be arrested and hopefully a long custodial sentence. But if after cutting him in half, you had the presence of mind to have a little look at what was, it would be music. But not just music, it would be comedy. You probably know him as the band leader on James Corden's Late Late Show. It's Reggie Watts. Reggie Watts.
Hello.
Oh, my word. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you very much for doing it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to make it.
Where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles.
And you'll be there specifically in your work propping up that failed actor James Corden on his nightly show.
Yes. I know he needs all the help that he can get, and so it's nice to do what I can. Obviously, I can't do everything, but
he was doing so well here, and then he went, and from what I hear, it hasn't worked out. So I just want to thank you for comforting him and being there in his hour of need.
You know what? My pleasure. It's very, very seldom I get recognized for that, so I do appreciate that.
I think of you not so much as a band leader, but as a carer.
Yeah, caregiver, like end-of-life care.
I said in my introduction to you that if somebody cut you in half, and I should say that they should be apprehended and they should serve a custodial sentence, but if they did, all they would see oozing out of you is music, because I don't imagine it's possible to be more musical than you are.
Oh, well, thanks. I mean, yes, I feel like I'm always in a world of music for certain inside my head at all times. So that would probably be fairly accurate.
And was it from a young age? I'm always fascinated about people's childhoods, and what I loved about yours, what I read, and you can tell me if this is true, that you started playing the piano and violin. You're having lessons when you're 5, right? And you saw Ray Charles, and he inspired you.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, he'd appear on music shows, on TV, and my parents really loved him, and so when I used to see him perform, I used to do an impression of him as a little kid, like wear sunglasses and be on the edge of the bed pretending like I was playing the piano, and so I think my mom was like, "Hey, I think this kid we should get him a piano and some piano lessons," so they went for it. Luckily,
I always think it's a glorious thing when a child wants to do that, and then they go on and they make it their life. I mean, most people don't get that, do they? Most people don't have a thing, or if they do, they never get to embrace it and live it. Yeah,
I definitely feel very, very fortunate that my parents were. Also, I mean, it was the time that I grew up in.
Let's establish that. So how old are you?
I just turned 50 a couple weeks ago. For me, growing up in the 80s, it was the United States in the 80s. The economy was crazy good, especially in the mid 80s.
If people want to picture the States in that period, they would be thinking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, would they not?
Sure.
They would be thinking of The Breakfast Club. They'd be thinking of Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
That's what America looked like then.
Yeah, the funny thing is, it was kind of accurate. My high school experience was very similar to those movies. So it was very Breakfast Club. It was all those things. It was crazy how weirdly, like, those movies kind of set the atmospheric tonality, but then the reality of it actually resonated. It was pretty cool. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of BBC. So for me, like, British culture, especially what was transmitted through, I don't know, obviously Monty Python, that's an obvious one, but that triggered me to such a crazy level. Like, I was like, oh, that's what you can do on an absurd scale. That's what's possible.
And the absurdity then, when you watch your stuff, you don't seem to be following any rules. I love the way you just doing your thing, and the audience have to catch up with you.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, sometimes I have to be careful, to not overindulge in the randomness, because I want them to be with me, but I want to lead them and then kind of change something up, and it's me trying to make sure I'm not repeating myself too much. So it's this weird game when I perform. So I have to really listen to myself, but also most importantly the audience, the energy from the audience. Yeah. Interesting.
So as a child, am I right in saying that you moved around? Was your dad in the military?
He was in the Air Force at that time. And I would have to say that my experiences moving around, I think, were really good because I don't know this scientifically, but I think being exposed to so many languages, it's weird. Like now I speak a lot of fake languages, but sometimes when I speak the fake languages, people will be like, is he speaking our language? Like for a second. And they're like, is he speaking Italian? Is he speaking German? Is he speaking, so I think,
but that's musicality though, isn't it? That's the music
True.
Of the language and which you are, overflowing with. It's musicality, it's the rhythm. So I'm sure you're very convincing in these approximations of accents.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think so. I mean, it's not perfect, but when there's humor associated to it, then it lowers the bar. I think that the exposure to hearing all those different voices in Europe, and my mother being a French speaker, my technically my first language was Spanish, like rudimentarily as a kid, but my mother was speaking French to me, and then watching BBC and then speaking in an English accent almost all the time when I'm growing up and I'm speaking like this, and so I thought,
your ability with an English accent that really struck me when I was watching your stuff. I went, wow, because a lot of Americans can't do that. It seems to be the vowels just don't suit them. But yeah, you are right on there with that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it goes in and out. It's like a radio frequency.
Let's jump now into the present day. So, Have you got a late show today?
Yes, yeah, we're taping today.
What time will you be called to the studio?
I believe today is a double tape, so I'm going to be there at. I think we're going to start taping at 3 o'clock. So, so I have to be there around 2:30, 2:45.
And you've done a zillion of these shows now.
Yeah, we've done 1,000. I don't know. It's like 1,100 or 1,098 shows or something like that. It's insane.
Well, I don't know if you know, but James did a show over here called Gavin and Stacey, which was a big hit. And I was one of the actors in that. So I know James from that. And I always remember him saying to me, he said, the thing about the late show is it just never ends.
It's true.
I think what he meant was in Britain, you do a run of 6 shows, you do a run of whatever.
Reasonable.
He said with that one, he said you have a great show and everybody's, we did this amazing thing. Tom Cruise jumped out of an airplane. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And then the amount of content that you get through on that show is terrifying.
And it just like cruises by so quickly. And there's so much. Yes. And people are like, oh, do you remember what you did last week? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know who's on the show. It's crazy.
But how much do you love it?
It's a dream in the way that it functions. It's like, well, one, I'm glad, it's glad to have a regular job, which is sweet in my life. I like that it functions so well. I like that it's so smooth. Like it's all about speed, precision. Everyone's so good at their jobs, and I love being around people who are so great at what they do, and everything runs like clockwork.
It must be a delight to be this creative part of a show and to be so central to it and to have this parade of such talent coming through. It must be a lovely thing. But how much time do you get then to devote to the other stuff? Because your band, your Wajatta, how does that get divided with your time?
It's on its own time scale. The good thing about Wajatta is that when John and I get together, go over to his house in Sherman Oaks, and he's got a studio and a room in his house. we sit down and we make tracks over the course of 2-3 hours, something like that. There's an idea, it starts, and then we build on it. We rapid prototype it, and then I lay down some vocals, and then we move on to the next thing. So it's very, very, very quick, very easy. And we used to do it like over the course of a few weeks, and then we'll have like an album.
I just think there's something so beautiful. Isn't it what everyone dreams of? To be doing for their living what they love, what would be done just as a hobby, but it's right front and center in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trip, it's a trip, but at the same time, it's kind of like all I could do. So it never felt like I got to get into roofing, because you never know. Like, it just felt like it's it was like, it's so something that I was always entertaining people, always joking, always playing music, always trying to throw a play together, making friends with other artists. Like, it's what I've always done. So I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. Because of the strong work ethic of my parents, I applied that to hustling and music. Yeah. And that's why when I moved to Seattle, I was just like, every band that was like, hey, you want to play keyboards? I'm like, yes. Hey, you want to play? Yes. I was like 7 bands, like taking the bus to all these different gigs. It was just, I felt like I couldn't stop. Like I could keep creating forever.
You're with the Late Late Show for the foreseeable future, but what do you have, not a plan, but do you have a sort of an ideal thing of what you would do in the future, or is it just more of the same?
I want to generate experiences and performances for people that are very transportive. I have an idea for an immersive play, kind of a time period thing. I have a network I want to create called the Artificial Time Travel Network, where I create experiences that are based, the temporal, immersive, durational experiences that people can.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Imagine you're talking to an idiot.
It's hard with you, but okay, I will. I will do my best. Okay, so you know what TV is? No, I would say,
do it all in a British accent.
Oh yeah, right. So so I have this idea for a '90s internet cafe, and I want it to be a place that you can go into, and it's time accurate, period accurate, and to the point at which there's Faraday shielding in the walls so that none of the mobile devices that you have will work. And then perhaps it's wardrobe specific. There might be a truck outside that has wardrobe. You can go inside.
Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. Where did you go there with wardrobe? With the second syllable of the first.
Well, the first
wardrobe.
One wasn't good. The first one was I didn't believe it.
You went wardrobe. You went somewhere else.
No, that was northern. That was northern. For a second.
Those are delicious vowel sounds.
Wardrobe. No, but seriously, like, there might be a truck outside. You go in and you can get 90s appropriate clothing for that time period.
Yes.
And you go in and you're supposed to surrender all your technology. And you just go in and you hang out in this 90s internet cafe. You go up to a counter, you get time, and they give you a ticket, and you have to enter the ticket number onto the screen of the computer that's already there. And then I'll have an intranet that's built up that mimics the internet of the 90s. And you can go on and surf all the programs from the 90s. And you just kind of hang out, and there'll be a DJ, some coffee, or whatever, and you just have none of your devices. I mean, you might as well have taken a time machine and gone back in time to the 90s.
Could you go back to your high school in the 80s to that John Hughes vibe?
I think I would take it as far back as I would like to go, at least vibe-wise, is the 60s. I think the 60s where media was still available, so that we have, if you wanted to record things happening in that environment, you could have a Super 8 camera, but it might be a digital version of a Super 8 camera, but it'll be disguised as a Super 8 camera. So you still have technology around if you wanted to record things for any specific reason. But other than that, it's just like people hanging out and just being with each other in a time period that reminds them of what it was like to be a little bit more connected as human beings.
Yeah, well, we're all connected now, but not necessarily as human beings. But let's not start on that, or we'll begin to cry.
No, I know.
Hey, Reggie, I really, really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Have a great day. Say hi to James from us in the United Kingdom, and look after him. It's been lovely talking to you.
Oh, man, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Reggie. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.